Hello, friends and dear vocal improvisers of the world. My name is Jakaš Kapin, and welcome back to In Conversation. I'm currently in Slovenia, as you see through the window. It's night time, very much so in the middle of the winter. I'm very excited to talk to our guests today, my dear friends. But before I do so, as always, I send you a very warm invite to check the website of the WELL Global Vocal Improvisation Network at thewellvocal.com. You can find the global event listing there, as well as a resources page with some videos, as well as playlists, some book resources, online courses, and we're constantly adding new information. And of course, we welcome you to join as a member wherever you are in the world. So that's thewellvocal.com. And to today's conversation, it's a vocal improvisation trio called Ecca, Matt, Soraya, and Jeffrey. They'll be joining us from different continents even. So let's see who we can invite in first. Aha. Tum, 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 tum. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, quick
Hello.
joining from 2/3 of the trio. Let us see if we can also add Soraya right now.
This is fun.
Yes. Okay, invite sent. So waiting for the third member, but hello. Well, that
And
was
there
quick.
she is.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Soraya. Nice to meet you. You're
Nice
the
to
only
meet you
person that we
too.
actually haven't had a proper conversation
Oh.
yet.
I
So
know,
this
we've never
is
spoken. I've heard so much about you over the years, and it's just so amazing it's funny that we get to meet in front of on live.
exactly. So
But
this
I'm
is the
excited to meet in
only
real life too.
likewise. And this
Yeah.
is the only link that's missing. So welcome Matt, welcome Jeffrey, welcome Soraya, welcome to In Conversation. It's going to be very casual, as you know. I have some questions for you as a trio, especially about your past EU tour. But then we'll see where the conversation takes us. Anything do you
Cool.
want to state right at the beginning? Or sing or do?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Is
No.
it possible to sing in harmony
Well,
on one of
that's what I was
these?
just
Should
thinking.
we
Can you
try?
try and give me a
Ooh.
chord? Okay.
Oh, we lost you.
No, we
Maybe
lost you,
something
Matt.
like
Yeah, okay, okay. So,
pulsation.
so let
Try,
it be like
try,
a ripple.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pulsation.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Do-do-do-do-do.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Doo-doo-doo.
Do-do-do-do.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Do-do-do-do.
There we go, there we
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
go. Not, not complete chords, but in its own way, a whole listening exercise that could go on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying. So
We
first of
have
all,
actually.
you have. Tell me.
I was gonna say we have actually because we don't all live. We live up. There's an ocean that separates us, so we have actually tried rehearsing singing or trying to sing on Zoom, and it never works. It never works.
I
But we
had
have tried.
really, yeah, I had good experience with using Sonobus or another platform for audio, so that you're more kind of in the same oral space, and then just using Zoom for video. So you kind of have, some
Oh,
reverb there and less lag, and then you're just like looking at each other's faces on Zoom, but not necessarily for audio. Yeah, much,
that's
much harder
cool.
over the ocean. So Eka,
Oh.
whoever wants to start, I want to hear, a little bit about the origin story. You could also introduce yourself if you would like to, or go straight to the trio as you wish. So maybe some kind of a weave between the three of you that tells us what Eka is at this stage.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Well, we can start with the origin of the thing, then maybe we can tell you a little bit about, where we're all coming from. But um uh well, I can start. I'm Matt. Hi. I have been in the vocal improv world for the last maybe 5 years or so, as a singer and performer, as a facilitator. I'm working on a community music project here in New York. and just meeting improvisers around the world. And the more people that I've met, the more fun it's just been to ask the question of like, what would this ensemble feel like? What would it be like to sing with these 10 people or with this 6 people? Because as anyone who's improvised knows, every single iteration of different um, souls in the song creates something special. And so Soraya and I were really dear friends, and we lived together. And one day we were in the kitchen and we were just playing a game. We were like, "Who would your 7 be if you wanted to just like tour as 7 people? Like, who would your 5 be?" And we got to the question like, "Who would your 3 if you wanted to tour with a trio? Who would it be?" And Soraya was like, "I think maybe you and Jeffrey," which was funny because we'd sung with Jeffrey maybe once or twice, and he lives in the Netherlands. She was like, "Who'd your trio be?" I was like, "I think you and Jeffrey." Um, And Sarai was like, "Well, I really want to go on a Europe tour, so should we call Jeffrey?" And that's sort of how we got here. Sarai, do you want to take it from
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I think people often are confused by the idea that we ourselves are confused by the idea that we didn't exist until we decided to do a tour. So unlike so many bands where it's like you have demand and then you go, we kind of did it in the opposite, and we found it to be very successful, which maybe we'll talk about later. But it was a beautiful way to introduce ourselves to communities in many different cities and learn about who we are. And I think the key there is along the way, having chosen to do something, the three of us, we have never been more aware of how unique your sound is when you choose three people. And if it wasn't the three of us, our improvisations and the music that would come through would be completely different. And so it's just really humbled me and taught me that your 7, quote unquote, is not necessarily a a use it's not, there's no best 7 singers, best 3 singers, best 5 to sing with you. It's just what kind of music do you want to make? And that's a big thing that we have learned deciding to pair together the three of us for a while is that now we get to explore and dive into specifically the music that's comes from our combination, and it makes it so exciting to imagine what other combinations are out there that exist.
Yeah, I think it was just so lovely when they reached out to me like, "Hey, we have this idea. We would like to form a trio and we would love to do that with you and possibly go on a tour together. So what do you say?" So I was immediately so super excited and so happy that we are doing this with the three of us. I think it's such a unique experience to sing with these two wonderful human beings. And so my name's Jeffrey, and I live in the Netherlands, and I'm based in and around Utrecht. So I'm also engaged in the vocal improv, I think since 2022, when I first dove in a vocal river retreat with Rhiannon. And that was such an enchanting experience that I just wanted more and more and more of that. So I joined the 2023 all the way in cohort, and that's where I met Matt. And yeah, I think both on a friendship level and on the music level, we had such a wonderful click. And to also being able to let that grow over a whole year and yeah, just having lots of experience of singing together, we were really like, oh, this is something special. So
Mhm.
after the All the Way In, I visited New York, and that's where I met Soraya, and actually where we sang for the first time in a bigger group. But also, we had this one moment during a rehearsal where it ended up being the three of us singing, and this was immediately like, okay, wow, this is quite special. So, yeah, it's really exciting that now, 3 years later, this trio has become a group. I really like that.
Yeah, and also before we get to the tour, I almost want to ask you about, as Soraya said, your music. So if we think about it almost as in what was your preparation before the tour, I wonder for you three, what do you seek for in collaborators? You know, when you three
Mm.
sing together, how do you feel or sense what your music is? What are you most interested in? And also for people that maybe do more circle singing or other forms, how it is to sing in a trio. Anything to say about that particular, format do you have found over time? Just a bunch of nice, simple questions.
Woo! Such good questions. Um, wow. Wow. Well, one of the really amazing things, we're very lucky, I'll say. We're very, very lucky. In that, I would say, Matt and I have known each other for a very long time. We knew Jeffrey as friends, but the three of us were not close in a way. And this project has made us so much closer, and we are so, so lucky that we are really great friends. Like, we just work really, really well together as friends, and the project has only brought us closer in such beautiful ways. And I know that a measure of that is just wonderful luck and fate that we can collaborate and discuss and come to consensus as easily as we can. So I don't know what to say about that, because that element of it, of what we have found in the three of us, is something beyond maybe our yeah, it's just like a dream come true. And I know that it takes a lot of conscious effort on our parts, but we just were luckily very well matched. But I know for me, what I was looking for when I initially thought about the idea of me, Jeffrey, and Matt in some kind of improvised collaboration was some was I knew that the three of us were all three melodists. And I think I have come to think about improvisers or musicians in general as representing different tribes of the different parts of the music. There are rhythmists, there are writers, there are melodists, there are storytellers, there are um, uh, there are other parts, as well, but I don't know much of it.
Harmonists.
So harmonists, there are harmonists, and they all bring something so special to the music. And the three of us, we each have different things that we do, but we all three of us have like this strong, we identify strongly with the melody and how it comes and goes in the music. And that might be an unusual um, choice to put three melodists together. But when I realized that that was happening, it was so, so intriguing. And I think it has been a very interesting part of the process, us three learning how to, in what ways it enhances our music, that we all approach it with like a deep consideration for what the melody is going to be, and in what ways it makes our collaboration more difficult because we might not have the support of somebody who's only a percussionist or only a bassist. And so that's something that has been an ongoing dialogue as we work together. And I think that's it's the beauty of Ecca, and why we kind of have this name Ecca, like echo. We love to echo each other. One person will sing a melody, another person will sing a variation on it, and then a variation and a variation, and it's this long textural, like soupy, taffy, like candy, like musical experience. But I think that's one of the difficulties of three, is that you only have three slots to fill in terms of function. And so you have to think very intentionally about what functions you're each playing in the music, and when you want to relinquish the idea of function altogether, and when the function is really, really necessary. And that's a conversation we're still having together.
Yeah. Yeah, three is hard. Three is
Three is
hard.
hard.
It's like we knew when we came in, when we did our first show in Brooklyn in August, we were like, we feel good. Like we're excited, but what can go wrong? And and obviously it went well. But it's a workout. It's a workout to be that present to the music and to really try and find, when you're singing in larger ensembles, you can come and go. When there's six people on stage, seven people on stage, you can come and go in the music. You can rest and listen, or you can just loop something and trust that someone else will, take the story somewhere else. But with three, you gotta, each part is so integral and so present. And so we've taken a lot of, over the course of our tour, we got more comfortable with like duo work, true solo work, like one of us just sitting while the other two sing, or looping something many, many times. And instead of having it move quite fastly, to have it develop oh so slowly and just change one element of the looping thing bit by bit. Because singing in a trio is really a different way of singing. Um, and to answer one of your first questions, which is like, what do we look for? How are we thinking about um, who we enjoy singing with? And I can speak for myself that when I'm looking for people to sing with, um, there's a couple of things that come to mind. But with this trio specifically, what felt so exciting was the combination of just really deep listening. I think that's something in improvisation that is so so key and so exciting is when someone's a really sensitive listener, um, while also being a really bold contributor. Just like having that balance of really deep listening, really bold contributions. And I think a lot about the Venn diagram of all of our musical vocabularies and like the circle of like my places that I most often go and where Sarai goes and where Jeffrey goes. And with some singers, there might be, a little bit of overlap, some there might be more. And I think the three of us, we have a lot of overlap of where the kind of places we like to go. And we also have some exciting edges of places that each of us are going to stretch it. And I think um, in a trio that's so intimate, having that like core overlap is really, really nice.
Yeah, wow. What still to add to all that? But um, I think also one thing that Soraya mentioned is that somehow also with this trio, when we were going on a tour, this was going to be our first time ever that the three of us were going to be together for such a period of time and share houses together and share lots of time. And it was just so nice how easily that went in a generosity in the listening, in the giving each other space, and also setting clear moments of then we want to rehearse and also checking in with each other before we would rehearse. Is there something that wants to be shared before? So I think, yeah, part of why it worked so well, or at least for me, was that there was so much time to connect in a friendly way and also to share, and also I felt that I could share and they would listen, and I felt that I could be a listener when they would share. And yeah, then from that deep connection of growing friendship and trust, going into the realm of spontaneous music felt so safe also. So it felt like we could just immediately just dive in and take risks and try things out. And I think all three of us had some ideas already before we met, like, oh, maybe we can try this during a rehearsal, or we could try that. And it was just so lovely to see how fluently that just went with everyone had their input there. And yeah, then also a strong sense of reflection, which I think was so helpful for us to keep expanding and embracing what a wild ride this is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I now want to ask you specifically about the tour, your Europe tour, end of last year. I wasn't able to come to a gig. I've spoken with people that went to gigs, not like I was not doing research, but I was very interested. I couldn't be in London, so I know a little bit about it. I kind of know that maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that mostly we're not using set lists, that mostly we're in very kind of open space, right? Whatever happens on stage, that you had some wonderful opportunities to connect with members of the vocal improv community, and be hosted by them. So maybe the first question is more practical, just for people that want to do something similar, an overview of how easy or difficult it was to just put it, organize it. And if you have any
Hmm.
learnings by the end, looking back, this is something that you might have done differently, or what would you suggest if someone is, looking to do a similar kind of thing? So one side practical, and then if maybe you also can share if you had any intentions, when you started it. Did you have like this thing for you as an ensemble? What is this tour about for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I would say that the process of putting this tour together was just as deep and just as complex as the process of actually doing it. And it was a really long, how long were we meeting for before we went on the tour? 6 months? 6 months? 8 months?
Yeah, I think
Sorry,
something like that.
something like that. And and uh so we were meeting uh repeatedly, uh scheduling meetings over and over again to work out all these details because it was basically just the three of us. And we had the wonderful advantage that Jeffrey was already in the place in Europe where we were and knew improvisers there, that Matt has also been part of the um, improvising community for a while, and me as well. So we had the advantage of, and we really deeply relied on the connections that we have already made, people in the cities we were hoping to go to giving us advice and resources. I remember we reached out to you, hey, what kind of venue is going to be interested in this kinds of thing? So that was a really big launching pad for us. But then the process really did become a lot of our own investigations, reaching out to venues who had no idea what vocal improv is, having different negotiations and conversations. It was a lot of work, and I think that was when we learned about, and some of our biggest debates and conflicts about what Ecca is and what it's going to be happened during that process. So I
Hmm.
think we learned a lot the about sort of conflict negotiation, concession, figuring out how we communicate together, the three of us, in that process. And that's one of the big things that I would, if I were to give advice to people who want to do it, I would say certainly do it and try it. You're going to be so surprised by how open the world is to receiving you, and how far a simple question, hey, can we do this in your venue, can go. And secondly, to be very prepared for the fact that that's going to be a big stage of learning about who you are as a group and what your priorities are. For example, for me, I started out with a very big priority that I wanted Ecca shows to be in a very specific kind of venue. Um, and I wanted them to feel differentiated from where I have often performed improvisation, which is in more workshop type spaces. I wanted it to feel more like in the realm of a jazz club. Over the course of the planning of the tour, we did get to do a show or two like that, but we, because of the logistics of the tour, ended up having to schedule our shows in many different kinds of venues, and that was something I had to concede. And beautifully, that was one of the most beautiful, like wonderful aspects of our tour in the end, that each show in each city was in a completely different type of venue and atmosphere. That helped us learn so much about our trio and how we react to different contexts. So I recommend that people stay very flexible and accept a diversity of different, venues and atmospheres into their planning. Oh, last thing I'll say is that if anyone thinks we made a lot of money off of this, we didn't. So that wasn't the point. And that also needs to be, I think that's one of the primary things for people to understand, is
Mm.
this was for us a creative experience that was subsidized by the tickets that we sold for this tour, but it wasn't a money making project by any means. And if you're thinking, people told us, don't do it, don't do the tour, it's not going to work. And I realized what they meant was, if
Mm.
you're thinking you're going to make money off of this, it's probably not going to work. But if you want to,
Mm.
you know, I think there are many cheap, cheap ways that you can be traveling and singing and, yeah, making it work.
Yeah, my sister described it as, she was like, so basically you went on vacation and you got to do what you love on vacation, and your vacation was slightly cheaper because the tickets helped make your flight a little cheaper. I was like, basically, yes, we went on a
Yeah.
Europe vacation and we just happened to get to sing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we really relied so much on the connections, and I think every city we were in, unless I'm mistaken, every city we were in, we were grounded by someone in that place who is part of the vocal improvisation community in some way. And that was really kind of how we looked at a big list of cities. We're like, "It'd be cool to go here, here, here." And then we were like, okay, but who do we know, in these
Hmm.
places? And that was really how it came together.
Yeah, I mean the people of the community were so generous and welcoming. I think that was such a lovely gift in helping us getting in touch with a venue or getting the word out there for audience to join. That was just so lovely. And also when you said, because one of your question was, did you have an intention for this tour? And I think one of our one of our biggest intentions, I think, was also to explore what Ecca is, what it can be, what it wants to be, what it yeah, to also just really use this time together to explore musically and where are we going. And also it was so nice to, because we also thought that it would be so great to sing lots of the gigs amplified. And so we had our first two gigs amplified, which was in some ways, of course, nice for at least for some beatboxing bassline things. I think the definition was really nice there, but also in a way it was limiting in a sense of flexibility, in a sense of movement. And it was so lovely when we did the first two shows, London and Utrecht, with a microphone, and then we went to Brussels, where we were in this lovely big black box place, also with a big audience and together with Labophonique. It was so lovely to feel, oh wow, what it does if we can also move, and what it does to our singing and to our ideas musically and conceptually, what we come up with. So I think it was really nice to have all these different places because they all invited different versions of ourselves, different versions of our music. And I think that was so enriching. So yeah, that is what I would really love to recommend if you feel like, hey, I also want to do a tour. It's really nice to really think about what kind of venues and maybe even have several venues in different types of venues to also explore what it can mean to the music.
Because that's what we do well, right? As improvisers, we're flexible and something else comes out depending on who we're in a space with, what the space is like. And that's also something that we can play on and that we can learn from because we have the ability, right? We're not creating something that is product based that would kind of work in a similar way that we want to scale up. It cannot really be scaled up or down for that matter in the same way. Maybe I want to ask you about your audiences. So being on tour, the kinds of conversations you had, who was there? Was it mostly improvisers? Was it also other people? What kind of conversations, or the ones that you can still remember, like comments or their involvement? Anything you want to say about the people you've met on the tour?
Yeah, the audiences were all so different. It was really interesting. Like, we had like one show, Friends and Family would be there. At our show in Brussels, there were like 70 folks, many of whom don't seem to know vocal improv much at all. Um, there were folks in when we were in Barcelona, we performed at like a comedy improv theater, and when we showed up in Barcelona, we had maybe sold like 5 tickets, and then at that show we had like 37 people. We still don't really know where they came from. Um, there was like I think a class that was happening earlier that day, and they said, "Hey, if you came to the class and you want to come to the show," so we had a very huge mix of people who know what this is, people who don't know what this is, and some of my favorite feedback was particularly from some friends, like family friends of mine who have no experience with this at all. They're like, I didn't know what to expect, but I really liked it. And I found myself like so with you in wondering where are they going to take it next? Like, where is this music going to go next? Um, and people really seeming to appreciate the blend of like levity and seriousness, genre blending, mushery, storytelling and song. And um, yeah, I was always so grateful when we'd get into the show and the rooms were very, very warm, very warm.
one thing about audience, when you ask about audience, it makes me think about how one of our biggest learning experiences across the tour, and we learned so much. We transformed two or three times over the course of those 2 weeks. Um, and one of our biggest learning experiences was how to position and explain what we were doing, to how to frame it for the people we were doing it for, which was definitely a tricky thing to figure out the language of what you're doing and how much you want to reveal to the audience about what you know and what you don't, and in what way you want to frame what you're doing so that they feel most comfortable, and they also feel most uh, and and they also feel most uh, sort of just supported and guided through this really mysterious and risky experience. And our first few shows, we kept having little mishaps or mess ups where there would be something, some moment where we suddenly said something in between
Mhm.
songs that completely changed the atmosphere and the vibration of the room, simply by giving a little bit more language or information where it wasn't needed, which maybe sounds a little vague, but it just turns out that if you say just a few words in one direction, the experience of watching vocal improv in an intimate space is already so volatile because the music is so volatile. You don't know what's going to happen. If you start tipping a few words in one direction, then the whole vibration of the room and what's happening and the audience and how they're receiving it starts to change. So it was a big learning experience figuring out how to frame what we're doing, and it turned out that for me at least, I've learned less is more, letting the music speak for itself and letting my personality show up in the music, and then show up less in the moments in between, and creating more of like a boundary between, so that they can just, because the way that I've started to conceptualize it is that what we do with Ecca is a little bit of a magic show, and that this revelation of, just being like, we don't know what's going to happen next, and this stuff is just coming out, and we're all kind of experiencing this reveal of whatever's going to come together. And the less I can put of my own personality in that, the cleaner the whole experience will be, while simultaneously trying to remain as honest as possible with my collaborators, and favor honesty over some kind of performative, if I need something from them, to reveal that to the audience by just saying, hey, I'm thinking maybe we should try one of our exercises, and just be really honest about that instead of trying to sort of worm my way
Mhm.
there with some vague invitations to my collaborators. So those are just a few examples of ways that it turned out it was really important to think about audience when we're actually on stage.
Mm. Mm.
Mm. Yeah, so I think lots of things have already been said about it, but I think I really agree on how loving all the audiences felt, and warming, and also they were, you could feel that they were with us, like,
Yeah.
ooh, what's happening, like the edge of their seat, kind of energy. And also it was interesting for us to feel how per place, how per venue, also the how it would differ if an audience was very vocal about it, for example, or be like, ooh, or what, just adding these vocal effects to it, and sometimes also being very silent, which was also interesting for us, like, does this mean that are they still there, or are they not? Or, and this is also something that we have learned also to, because then the pitfall is to then start working even harder to get the audience
Mhm.
engaged, but maybe they are engaged in, but just in a different way. So I think this is also something that we learn, to also not get into the, we have to involve them from a very pushy place, but just let the relationship become what it wants to become, and share this musical moment together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many interesting points. And for me, for someone that also performs, in like similar ensembles on stage, I could really just go on for hours. So maybe it means we have to do a different kind of a, conversation around this, or a different kind of exchange. But for now, maybe we are just kind of rounding off, this conversation here on Instagram. I hope that for people listening now or later, it gives them some, impulses, some excitement about trying something, similar. I hope that they will follow you. You can tell us exactly, where people can find out more about Ecca. I'm sure you're also okay. People get in touch, and ask questions. And I just think it's such a great example of, saying we want to do this, and let's do it in a way that links different members of the vocal improvisation community. And of course, as the well, we want to, just enable as much of that as it can happen now and in the future. So tell us maybe where people can find Ecca, find out more, and then maybe, of course, to round it off, what is next, or how are you going to keep, the spark alive, as you're not living in, similar country, same country, which is not as easy. So just anything about what's next for Ecca and where people can find you. Jeffrey, you go
Yeah,
Yeah, for
first.
you take it. You go first
Yeah,
this time.
you take
Come
it,
on.
go, go. Yeah, I mean, you can find us on Instagram. We have at Ecca Trio. So this is where you can follow what we do. We also have a Linktree page where you can find things that we do and that we post, that we share. And we have a very exciting next thing coming up, which is that we are going to perform during the Aarhus Vocal Festival in May. So this is a very concrete next thing that's going to happen for us, which we are very excited about. Um, and yeah, to look even more into the future, we are cooking some plans about maybe having another tour, but where is it going to happen? Is it going to be Europe again, or is it going to be somewhere else? We're still in the phase of finding out where it wants to take place, but this was this tour was definitely just a start and not the only thing. So we really feel fuel up and like, okay, let's go and see where else we can take this trio. So there's definitely more stuff coming up.
And any recordings from the tour that you're gonna share, maybe
Oh
any
my
part of the
gosh.
recordings? I always, me, I love documentation.
Yeah, we actually recorded all of our shows. So I'm very sure that maybe even a whole. We also were talking about maybe putting a whole show on YouTube or wherever. So there you can also find some clips of us already. So and we will definitely show some more clips of some tour footage or maybe some rehearsal footage or whatever to just give a little bit more insights of what we do.
It's a good reminder. We got to get that footage out there because there's so much nice
Yeah.
stuff. There's so much nice stuff that, yeah, yeah.
Anything else for you, Matt and Soraya, about where it feels like it's all going as a project?
So that's one of the beautiful things is that it's a very slow cadence because of the distance of our lives. Like instead of just like jump, 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 it's these like big, land and then leap
Hmm.
and see where it lands and then leaps. And so I don't couldn't possibly tell you a year from now, what we'll be up to, but all I know is that every time we're in the same room together and get to sing, it feels really good. So looking forward to more opportunities for that.
Yay.
Yeah. And for me, I think this is one of the collaborations in my life that is most interwoven with the beautiful collaboration that is friendship. The three of us have gotten to get to know each other so much better through this, and we make each other laugh so much. And when I think about what we're gonna do next, I think primarily of this card game that we have been working on trying to finish and complete. And so I'm like, well, what Ecca's gonna do next is Ecca's going to finish the Lord of the Rings trick taking game part 1 and then start Lord of the Rings trick taking game 2 Towers and finish that too. And that's what we're going to be doing with our time the next time we're here.
And just to be sure, this card game is about vocal improv.
Well,
No.
actually,
Oh, it's
it
not.
has nothing to do with vocal
Okay,
improv.
okay. Just so
But
I
we have gotten
don't get
into
too
a flow.
excited.
Don't get too excited. It's just for us when we are alone. But we have gotten into a really awesome flow. It's so nerdy where we play this Lord of the Rings card game and we just start singing and we sing through the rounds. So we're just playing and singing and it feels so good. And that's some of the growth that, personally I'm so excited to get to continue to experience with Ecca is stretching my musical mind through love and connection with these awesome guys.
I will say too, the game, it's a collaborative card game.
Yeah.
And it's kind of in order to play, you're holding this hand of cards and you're kind of read the invisible communication of what card should be played next with your teammates. And so it is kind of actually interesting the way that playing this game together reflected and mirrored the ways that so much of working with a trio is trying to like understand, predict where, oh my God, yep, predict where
Yeah,
the
right.
music's going to go, support each other, set each other up for success. Um, and singing is all one big game. It's
Yeah. And
true.
if they want to sponsor us, we would love to be sponsored. So
Hey,
hopefully
Yeah,
they're
let me
watching
know
this
what
right
their details
now.
are so I can tag them.
Yeah,
Well,
seriously.
Ecca, Trio, Matt, Soraya, Jeffrey, thank you so much. I hope we get to continue this conversation. I can't wait to see what you do next. I think I'll be able to also see you in Aarhus in May 14th to the
Yeah.
17th, which is great. So if people don't know, they can check what's happening. Also, we've released as well sort of a yearly calendar of vocal improvisation, big gatherings, festivals, and events. So we have a separate page on that, so you can log on onto the portal and see what else is going on in 2026. Hope we can chat again and share more through the well or otherwise. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you so
us.
much.
thank
What
you.
beautiful, wonderful questions. And I can't wait to spend time with you and sing with you in Denmark.
Yay! So have
Mhm.
all the best of time till then. Hope you have some good Zoom moments or, any kind of online something we get to sing together and then see you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
thank
sounds
you.
lovely.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye
All
for now.
right.
Bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.